So Diane, you haven't ever had an Alexander lesson, have you?
No, I haven't.
No. So this is an ideal opportunity to show how the Alexander technique helps with kinesthetic awareness and why it has been such an important component in me learning to feel the energy field, then learning to work with the energy field, and then learning crystal surgery and being able to track what's going on. But we don't start there. We have to start with self-awareness. Okay, so the big insight that Alexander had was that we have what he called debauched kinesthetic awareness. Horrible word, debauched kinesthetic awareness. But basically what it means is, like if you habitually stand on one leg like so, and you lean on one leg, and you always do that, you're not going to feel it all the time. You're going to become accustomed to it. You're going to become habituated to it. And then if you go and put your weight on both feet evenly, that's going to feel like you're now swaying to the left, when in fact you're now evenly balanced.
Okay.
So in other words, we can't trust what we're getting, because what is familiar and what is habitual takes over, and then we can't feel sensitively around that. So one of the amazing things that the Alexander technique does is it restores a more accurate kinesthetic awareness.
Okay.
And that it does by getting you a better sense of yourself, and in turn that gives you a better sense of what's going on around you, because it's a process of becoming aware of what's habitual and familiar, allowing that to change and soften so that your nervous system becomes more sensitized to what's going on, instead of you being sort of stuck in one mode. Okay. And what I want to do is show you how that plays out via the Alexander technique, and we'll look at some. See right there's a habit. Look how tense your arm is, and how you reacted when I went to move your arm. And that's one of the things we want to let go of. Just let the arm, lovely. Now that's it, you see. Now it's as simple as that. So what you did now was you let go, you released, in fact you inhibited the pattern of holding your arm up like this, which I noticed you doing a lot already this morning before we began filming. And so we want to let that soften and release. Now look how differently you're listening to your own self. Aren't you?
Okay. Yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah.
I'm listening, yes.
Yeah. Now as you're listening and you're aware of this left arm, what is your right arm doing?
It's just dangling there.
It's just dangling. Can you let it hang too? Can you let go of the tension in the right arm?
I could feel I let the tension go in the shoulder area, which released the rest of the arm.
Very good. Okay, good. All right, so now again, let's just pay attention. What's happened to your left arm? Has it tightened up a little bit? Are you holding it?
A little bit.
Are you holding it a little bit tense?
Yes.
Can you let that go? Yeah. Look at the smile that comes naturally on the face as you enjoy learning about yourself and becoming more self-aware, and as you release the tension. Both reasons for smiling, aren't they?
It feels wonderful.
And we haven't even really
I
begun.
know.
So what feels wonderful about it? Can you put it into words?
It just feels more natural, more comfortable.
And more you.
Yes.
More you. It's like, yes, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're coming back into ourselves. And that's what becoming centered and grounded and aligned actually is. Letting go of what's pulling you off.
Yes.
That's the key insight of the Alexander technique, is what must we stop doing? And what you had to stop doing, and you're beginning to do it a little
I was
bit.
just starting to feel like I was doing it again.
Pulling on your arms, pulling your arms tight. Now, one of the reasons that you don't want to do that is that when you're working with the crystals, if you've got tension in your arm, it blocks you from feeling what you're doing with the crystals.
With the crystals. That makes sense.
And how you're tuning in to someone else's energy field. And that's why you got to get yourself to as neutral a place as possible so that you can become more sensitive to what's outside you by cleaning up the noise that's inside you.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay.
Now, as you're listening to me, I'm watching your eyes, and they are going exactly correctly. There's an intelligence. It's not a blankness. Okay. Your eyes are open, you're listening, you're learning, and your eye movements are depicting that aspect of brain activity. So standing here, and you're doing this already, but we're going to enhance it. I want you to feel the ceiling with the top of your head. Don't close your eyes. We don't walk around with our eyes closed. This is about interacting with your environment. That's it. Now, feel how your back also relaxed when you contacted the ceiling with your crown chakra. Did you become aware of that? That your back started to
relax.
It like started to open, didn't it? I would use the word open.
Open is a good word.
Release. And in the Alexander technique, we use the terms lengthen and widen. As the muscles contract, they shorten and narrow. That's a tense muscle. As the muscles release, they lengthen and widen, and it's two simultaneous actions. If you just lengthen, you're going to be pulling on yourself.
Okay.
If you just widen, you're pulling on yourself. Lengthen and widen is one action. When the two happen together, that's releasing and opening.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
So here's your arms tightening up as you listen. That's it. And so what's kind of fun is just to let the inside of the arm here, you don't have to tighten, that's right. Let it hang close to your body. Exactly. Okay. And again, that's causing you to smile. People might not be able to see the changes that you're feeling inside you. It's kind of watching paint dry, but they can see the change in your face as you contact that release inside. Now, you've been standing a while, so we're going to sit. And when you sit, the chair, do you want to check that the chair's behind you? I don't want you to be anxious. I just shifted to so that. Well, it's do you trust yourself and your own nervous system? So that's it. Now you'll find that you started to pull your feet off the floor at the idea of doing something different from what we're doing now. You'd become comfortable with this step. And I said, now we're going to sit, and then you got a little anxious. Did you become aware of that?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
So you kind of tightened and pulled yourself. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we want to learn is to let the supporting surface support us.
Okay.
When you're standing, what is the supporting surface?
The floor. The ground.
Exactly. We don't stand on our feet. We stand on the floor. And what's interesting, Diane, and this is an opportunity to say this, is that you've got to let the bones of your body conduct the weight to the floor when you're standing. So just think of your leg bones as conductors taking your weight to the floor, and you'll feel it through the heels, and your balance will change slightly. Just allow it. There you go. And there's the soft sway. You feel it?
I do. I feel a release in my thigh muscles.
Good.
All the way down. Calf.
Good. That's exactly right. And your toes, you can lift your toes now, right? You're not gripping with them.
No.
That's right. So now on that new balance, you're going to sit. Hips, knees, and ankles bend. Knees bend. Good. Right. And you'll notice your arms tightened up.
Yes.
Yes. Because that's your habit. And that's exactly what we want to learn how to change. Not because it's a bad thing to have tense arms. There you did it again. But because it's noise. And it's noise that prevents you from hearing other information. Okay?
Okay.
So now, as you're sitting here, you're asymmetrical, which people don't like. We believe in symmetry even though we don't actually have it. And just let the tension drop out of your right arm and your left arm. Yes. Leave it like that. Yeah, okay. Leave it there. That's fine. It's like you've got two parts to your arm. There, that hangs close to the body, And that's lengthening, and I can see the energy now flowing through your fingertips. Because you know what? The energy has to flow through you, and if you tense, it cannot. So that's another good reason for getting rid of our habitual tension, because we want the energy to flow through us correctly. Now see if you can let me do this. Lovely. Now what you did was a perfect example of inhibition. Your habit would be to help me, and you managed to stop your habit. That is the definition of inhibition in the Alexander technique. Stopping the habit. Now, didn't you have to engage your brain?
Yes.
You had to pause, right?
I had to think about it.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
then allow it to relax.
Exactly.
Yes.
You're getting the words right. You're getting the words right without me even telling you what the words are. You had to think about it, and you had to stop the habit, and then you used the magic word allow. Oh, you've made my day. You've made my day. And are you feeling nice and comfy?
I am.
Do you feel round-shouldered slightly because you relax?
I do. And
you do.
I'm not used to that.
I'm used to, and you are
trying to hold everything back tight.
Exactly. We used to hold. We like to put our shoulders back. And put now, I want to tell you something. Your posture is perfect at this second.
Really?
I'm sure that the camera can pick it up. Can you, Neil? Are you getting it? That you can see. Now she's going to feel round-shouldered because she's used to the feeling of her shoulders being tense. Now for the camera, let's just make the shoulders tense. Pull them back. That's it. So that's what's not happening. She's not pulling. So when she lets go, it feels like she's slumping, but she's not slumping. She's just releasing muscle tension. And it feels comfortable and soft, doesn't it?
It does.
It's totally different.
I can feel tingling even coming down my arm in a good way, and my fingertips, going through my fingertips.
That's wonderful. You see, that's just perfection. Now, remember we said to let the supporting surface support you. What is the supporting surface now?
Chair?
Exactly.
Chair? Okay.
Exactly.
Yes, that
so
would make sense.
Can you feel that you're pulling away from the chair slightly?
A little bit.
And that's tension.
So I have to.
So just let that tension release. Tell yourself consciously, I can trust the chair to support me, and let the chair support you. You'll feel the butt muscles releasing, the lower back muscles releasing, even the backs of your legs here will change if you give yourself that information consciously. That is the Alexander technique, bringing all this into consciousness and using it under your conscious direction. That's lovely. That's now you'll find that you are tight in your knees and your legs. You're holding your knees to come towards each other, right?
I am.
So let them release up here at the hip joints. Just let them pop open and release. It's hard to find, isn't it? Yeah. It's a thing us ladies have been taught not to do. Right? Let it go. There you go. It's beginning to ease.
It is. I feel like I'm falling into the seat of the chair.
Exactly.
Falling in a good way.
Falling, as in releasing,
yes.
as in yielding instead of
not
holding.
Falling. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. It's the letting go of the holding. Now, I'm going to give you a little tip. We've talked about feeling the ceiling with your head. Feel the ceiling with your head. And now, feel that there's a space between the seat of the chair and the floor. Sense that space kinesthetically. Isn't it interesting that we can?
It is.
And doesn't that give you more release?
It does.
And do you feel how it opens you up the front?
Yes.
And that's called up direction.
Okay.
So these orienting thoughts help tremendously with release of tension.
Definitely.
And this is a lesson. We are teaching your neuromuscular system information and neural pathways. You're getting
to
more
think about
release.
it. Yes.
You're getting more release.
I
That's
started
great.
thinking about it, and
Yes.
I started noticing where I was tensing.
Exactly. So now it's time to stand. And so from here, we're going to release first the neck. We want to get the head balancing on the neck again. We don't want these muscles grabbing the head. So these muscles, let me just explain, what am I talking about? We're talking about the muscles at the back of the neck, coming through the back, but we're also talking about the muscles that come up here, because these muscles come up here, and all the muscles insert over here as well, behind the ear. So the muscles of the front come to behind the ear, the muscles of the back come to behind the ear, and they grab on, when they're tense, they grab onto the skull and jam the skull against the neck. We don't like that. We want a nice, refined balance. Not what you got, huh? Let's head there. Okay, refine that balance. Lovely. Now it's going to feel really odd and loose, Diane, because you like to hold tight in your neck, okay? So just trust the looseness, and it's going to change the feeling of standing tremendously. You're going to want to go back to your habit because you've released quite a lot of tension here. And just trust me, okay? And I'll get you out of the chair with this movement. See, it was too easy, wasn't it? It surprised you. So you shot up out of the chair and you put a little bit of effort in that you didn't need. Could you feel you had enough energy to go across the room because you put some energy in? You didn't need to.
I didn't need to.
You could just allow again. But it's the hardest thing to learn. So you did actually very well. You didn't overdo too much tension. But see, you'll notice your shoulders have tightened, your butt will have tightened, your legs will have tightened. And so again, we get into that awareness. That's beautiful. Do you feel how you're expanding?
I do. But
it's
wonderful. It does. You have to think.
You do have to think.
Yes.
Yes, you do have to think. But you don't, not to convey the idea that it's too much effort.
No.
It's a nice kind of thinking, isn't it? It's like a clean, clear, balanced, soft, supportive kind of thinking that has one feel calmer, not more tense.
It makes you feel like you're centering. You're bringing it all back.
Exactly. Shall we try it again?
Sure.
Okay. So here we are. That's lovely. Feel the room behind you with your back of your head here, and especially the back of your neck where you like to tighten. Good. Nice. Let that soften there. Very good. And then you can sit, hips, knees, and ankles bent. Drop your nose just a touch. Nice. Look how your knees swung in. That's it. Now let those knees pop away from each other by releasing at the hips. You got it this time. Easily.
I can feel it.
And that's why it's a learning. And, you know, it takes time. It takes repetition. It takes practice. It takes understanding. However, you are understanding extremely well. And you know what? That is the key. Understanding the point that we're trying to make here. And that's why we get the great advantage of not just depending on a hit and miss understanding of what we're saying in the Alexander technique, but actually putting our hands on and giving you the experience. So I'm going to give you the experience now of lengthening up. See how you tried to take over?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay. So I tell you what, just don't worry about a thing. Just allow me and let me open this up. I'm going to again play with the balance of the head on your neck. It's nice and gentle there. And then you just know this is where your hips are. This is where you're coming up from in the front, from here. Don't do anything. This is where you're coming up from in the back. Okay. So it's a little bit different back and front. This is touching on the lumbar spine just above the sacral area. That's where the up direction is going to come. And you're just going to allow, okay?
Okay.
You've got the allowing thing. So now you just allow, and I'll get that length coming through. There we go. Now don't do anything more. I'm going to move you forward and up into standing. Perfection!
I didn't swing forward like I
No,
did last time.
you just did beautifully. Only your arms you held in
A little bit, yes.
which is also absolutely what usually happens in the beginning. You've been fantastic, Diane.
That's been
Thank you so
wonderful.
much. Okay. Do you want to go on the table next?
Absolutely.
Okay, that will be the next demo on the table, what we do there.